Hello there, and thanks for joining us again on the EduTalk Show. The EduTalk Show, as always, is brought to you by the Ministry of Education in partnership with the Teacher Education Journal. This week, we're talking about using STEM as a transformative pathway to encourage innovation in schools across the country. We're spending time with the Honorable Minister for Education, Dr. Osei Adutwum, as he takes us through the journey of how his outfit is using STEM to encourage transformation in the education sector. Stay with us, we'll be right back. And you're welcome back from that break. We're grateful that you're staying with us here on the EduTalk Show. The EduTalk Show, as always, is brought to you by the Ministry of Education in partnership with the Teacher Education Journal. As I was indicating to you earlier, we're privileged to be joined by the Sector Minister, the Minister responsible for Education, Dr. Osei Adutwum. He's passionate about his constituency, so he won't forgive me if I don't mention the Busunchi constituency in the Ashanti region. That's where he is Member of Parliament as well, and we're so delighted to have him. We're talking about STEM, science, technology, mathematics. Why is it so important to the transformation of the education sector? And here's one man who's passionate about it, and we're delighted, Honorable Minister, that you're joining us on the show. Welcome to the EduTalk Show.
Thank you.
At the start of the conversation, I was just looking at the photograph up there. Gives us nostalgic moments about when you are the UN General Security Council. Quite a passionate appeal you were making to the world there when you made that transformative speech. For many, they were not expecting that it will come from a minister right here in Africa that, quote, "We cannot memorize our way out of poverty." Why are you so passionate about science, technology, and mathematics?
Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics holds the key to our future. We are in a time in the history of the world where transformation is taking place. We are in what we call Industry 4.0. It's a time when everything is in a constant flux. Change is happening. Jobs are disappearing. New jobs are being created every day. New opportunities are coming along. The nation that prepare its youth to see the opportunities are the nations that are going to transform their fortunes. I happen to believe that the better days of Ghana is ahead of us and not behind us. And therefore, we have to begin to take a look at our education system and begin to look at what we do right, what are the shortcomings, correct the shortcomings, make the education system a transformative one. You transform education to then transform the socioeconomic fortunes of our nation. So the idea that a student goes to class and he's an empty vessel and the teacher has to pour knowledge into it. And then at the end of the semester or term, the student has to pour out the knowledge to the teacher for the teacher to see if he actually stored the knowledge. That era is far gone. We've now moved into a place and time when students have ideas, and you have to interface with them. You have to dialogue with them. You have to nurture those ideas to ensure that at the end of the day, education serves its useful purpose of being the transformative agent for the transformation of our economic fortunes. Essentially, STEM gives us a wonderful opportunity.
Right.
STEM belongs to what we may call Education 4.0. The fourth industrial revolution has brought about new demands. In fact, it's documented that in the next 10 years, a number of jobs will disappear. In some countries, maybe about 40% of all the jobs we know will disappear. So if you are training students today for the jobs of tomorrow, which you don't know, how do you do that to ensure that the nation remains relevant? What you do is that you teach them through STEM with STEM strategies, which is essentially acquisition of skills. So when you are talking about STEM, you are not just talking about the content, the engineering principles. You're also talking about the skills that they are acquiring to think critically, to be creative, to be collaborators, and also to be effective communicators, which in education we call the 4 C's. Right. So I believe that the most important skills that students acquire when they engage with engineering, when they engage with mathematics, when they engage with science and technology, is that they acquire certain critical skills. And those are the skills that enables them to become problem solvers. It enables them to apply all these ideas in solving the challenges that their nation faces, their community faces. And by so doing, we have a new generation of Ghanaians, we have a new generation of Africans who look at age-old problems with a new set of eyes. They see opportunity everywhere. When they see that there's a problem in their community, they see that as an opportunity to bring about transformation and to innovate themselves out of the challenge that they confront. That's why I'm excited about STEM and the opportunity it presents. When you talk about robotics, when you talk about computer science, you are looking at creating new ideas. You are looking at opening the floodgates of learning, floodgates of opportunity to all and for all students, girls and boys, rural, urban, inner city children, all have a great opportunity to really confront the 21st century with a new passion, so that the 21st century become the century for Africa, the century for Ghana. And that century, you cannot teach the way we have been teaching. We have to change and we have to innovate. Innovate in education to innovate our society.
But, Honourable Minister, what's reinforcing the need for STEM now? The belief is, well, we've run something in the past. I don't know if in your definition that would meet the standards for you in terms of STEM, but why is it so relevant to our nation now?
You see, one of the things that STEM is not is the idea of learning science, learning technology, learning engineering, and learning mathematics as individual subjects. So if I just take you to a school where you can take a course in science, take a course in technology, take a course in engineering, and take a course in mathematics, it does not necessarily mean that you're getting a STEM education. It is the integration of all these towards solving challenges that you confront. That is what makes STEM education so unique. So it's not so much about the standalone courses, but the paradigm shift that has occurred in the study of this is when you are solving a problem and then you ask yourself, what role does science play in the solution of this problem? What role does engineering, because engineering is a simple application of science, what role does technology play in this? So when you have to really design a robot and design a robot to solve some challenges of society, it's going to need mathematical calculations. It's going to need some fixes, calculations, so that you can determine the speed of the robot. Another thing that goes with it, you have to be familiar with the terrain where the robot may be traveling and begin to have an idea of what kind of robot you need to develop. If it's about drones and getting them to fly, you need to have an idea of geography. So geography comes there to interface, the environment comes into interface, fixes is brought to the fore, chemistry comes in because you have to look at the material that you are using in the development of that drone. So you can see that just doing one activity, just designing something, all the subjects are coming into play. And to the extent that you can use this in such a way that you can develop new things, you can develop new opportunities, you are intimately using STEM. But the byproduct is the critical thinking that you develop along the way. It's the creativity that comes to the fore along the way. It is actually the collaboration relationship that is developed. And then you begin to see that you need to be able to articulate in writing and also verbally what you have developed.
Right. But I'm very much curious to know about your own diagnosis of the problem. because you have comparative advantage on your side. You've worked elsewhere, worked in our system as well. Where do you see that challenge beginning from? A reason why the problem has compounded now in terms of not having STEM as a priority in the education sector?
You see, you look at science and how it is taught and how it scares so many people. Look at mathematics and how it is taught and how people want to run away from it. And I remember when I was teaching mathematics in Los Angeles, I always will, first day in my classroom, I'll tell the kids, how many of you don't like math? And almost every
we all don't like
goes
math.
up and say, oh, in our family, nobody likes math. Math
right.
is not so difficult. And I said, okay, when did you wake up this morning? I said, Johnny, when did you wake up this morning? 6 o'clock. All right, Johnny, when did you get to school? About 7:30. How long did you take you? 1.5 hours. I said, that is mathematics.
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
Right.
Why are you afraid of mathematics? So when I was teaching mathematics, I took the kids outside my classroom. In my school in Los Angeles, where I taught mathematics, there was an area that had a perfect circle. So whenever I was teaching circle, that was my lab. I take the kids, I say, walk along the line, the circle. And they finish and I say, that is circumference. And they will never forget it. Say, walk across. And they say, wow, what is that? I say, diameter. Get to the middle. Don't go anywhere. That is your radius. After we finish that activity, children don't forget.
So Doc, why can't we integrate, STEM into our entire system, for instance, in all the senior high schools across the country? Are we beginning to do that already?
Yes. We are beginning to do that because there are 3 pathways that the president has approved that we do the STEM operationalization. One way is through the construction of STEM centers in selected schools. So in Accra, we finished the first one at Accra High School. There are many of them across the country, including Jene and Bono.
And for those who may not be aware of these schools, just paint that mental picture of the kind of school we are talking about, because they may see it as the usual senior high school that you'd be going to. How would this be different?
If you are going to Accra High School this year, you have a chance to do your general arts, business, home economics, but also have a rare opportunity to do engineering. So robotics and everything will be done. And then you also have another chance to do computer science. It's never happened before. High school was not the place where we talk about computer science. You may do one course in computer applications or IT, but now you have a full-blown course in computer science where they will do Python and other programs that are traditionally learned at the university will now be done in high school. But in addition to that, there's interface between robotics, computer science, because now most robots have to be programmed. You have to know C++ language and other computer languages to get a robot moving. So in schools like Accra High, where this facility, fully equipped, state-of-the-art equipment, 3D printers are there.
Yes.
It will amaze you. It will amaze you. They can show it for you to see. It will amaze you that you enter that room. In fact, when we showed it on social media, some friends of mine who call and say, do you really think it's Ghana? Because we have something that is not even in developed nations.
Right.
Not many developed nations have the kind of lab that we have at Accra High. So in schools like that, they are going to get the opportunity for at least a section of them. But all the students will have opportunity also practice robotics and do activities there. And in fact, students from the community, the junior high school, the primary school, will also get opportunity once in a while to come there, because that becomes how you build a pipeline of STEM enthusiasts from KG all the way up to high school, then to the university. And these children, by the time they get to the university, they've done so much that, in fact, if our universities don't change the teaching and learning environment, they'll be bored to death. Because they're not going to look at engineering from the perspective of the current engineering students at the university. These are hands-on people looking for opportunities to create something that will really change their lives and change their family's life and change their country. So that is one pathway. Another pathway is to build brand new schools. And that is what the government has done. President Akufo-Addo is very passionate about education. Now we have new STEM schools. We are operationalizing 7 of them this year. It will interest you to note that they have exceeded their capacity because they have 12 science labs. Presec doesn't have 12 science labs. Wesley Girls doesn't have 12 science labs. But Pasempe, Abomusu, Awaso, all these new schools, including the smaller version of those schools at Bosomtwe in my constituency, Bosomtwe Girls. We know schools like Wesley Girls have some culture of learning, best practices that new schools can borrow from. So that one of the best headmistresses of Wesley Girls, Ms. Jokoto, is the consultant who has been hired by TTAL, and he's the one who is working with Bosomtwe Girls and the new schools, coaching the headmistress, even working with teachers, training them, working with the students. Because there's something about Wesley Girls that is different. He's trying to really seed Bosomtwe Girls with the DNA of Wesley Girls.
Wow.
So in no time, in about 5 years, Bosomtwe Girls can rise to the level of Wesley Girls.
And that's to the delight of the MP of the area. I need to state that, who is very passionate about the constituency as well.
But the third one,
yes, okay,
it's actually improving STEM integration within existing schools. So when we went to Wesley Girls and built 6 science labs for them, it was for them to get similar tools that are in the new schools. And in terms of the new schools, we've been fortunate enough to have been provided funding with the support of the Finance Minister, Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, through Kuwait Fund. So we are building 2 girls' STEM schools, one in Accra, one in Kumasi, and we are seeking funding to build more across the country. Why girls? Why STEM? Ghana is so fortunate to have come to a point where we are literally on the brink of attaining gender parity as secondary education. After the end of this year, there will be an equal number of boys as girls, or girls as boys in our high schools. Right. Developing countries don't attain this feat. And kudos to the president, because the free senior high school gave opportunity to the girls. What it meant was that parents in certain communities who used to discount girls' education based on cost, when a boy and a girl were about to go to a senior high school or senior high school, the boy always got selected when there were limited funds. But now parents are not forced to make a choice between their girls and boys. Consequently, we are close to attaining gender parity, about 0.99. In no time, it will become 0.100, which means gender parity has happened in Ghana.
So now you know, and you know why STEM is very important to the education sector. But are we considering making this a policy, and what steps are we taking to enforce that? We'll find out more from the Education Minister when we return. You're watching the Edu Talk Show, brought to you by the Ministry of Education in partnership with the Teacher Education Journal. We'll be right back. And we're grateful that you're still with us here on the Edu Talk Show. The Edu Talk Show, as always, is brought to you by the Ministry of Education in partnership with the Teacher Education Journal. We're spending time with the sector minister, the minister responsible for education, Dr. Osei Adutwum, and we're talking basically about STEM. What's its role in transforming our education sector, and why is the minister so passionate about that? He's spoken about that, but let's move to the next phase of our conversation. And Honorable Minister, I want us to talk about how we are practicalizing STEM in our system. Are we making STEM a policy? Have we considered that already?
You see, if you look at the new curriculum that we're implementing, for the first time we have a course in computing. So essential elements of STEM are already approved through the curriculum that we are implementing as a nation. But I also have talked about STEM for a long time. Right. There's even a policy regarding 60-40, saying that tertiary institutions should have 60% STEM-related courses and then 40% in the humanities. So we've had some policy framework.
Right.
What was missing is how do you get to the 60%, especially when 12% of your students are doing science. How do you change 12 to 60% without any policy and without any implementation guidelines? So what is happening now is that we have a structure that says if we cannot get to the 60 now because we are not creating the pipeline from primary, high school to the university with the number of STEM-related high school graduates, can you allow the young men and women to change their minds? If they did general arts and they want to change to science, do we make it possible for them to do so? All this while in this country, we've never allowed it. But Ghanaian children will travel abroad and change from general arts to medicine, and they do so well. Yeah. Ghanaian children travel to America who did visual arts and they become great engineers. And Americans don't see anything wrong with it. So what we have done is to create an incentive ecosystem that enables people to change their minds. So now as I speak with you, at UMass, Takwa, Pentecost University in Accra here, students have a rare opportunity of pursuing pre-engineering. So they are coming from business at high school, visual arts, they are coming from home economics, and they are saying, I want to change my mind and I want to become an engineer. And they are doing 1 year intensive pre-engineering coursework, taking courses in physics and mathematics and doing so well. So there's a new dawn in education. Things are shifting and things will shift rapidly and people will begin to see that the vision of the President for Education Transformation is coming alive. And with that, the transformation of our fortunes. So your framework should look at how you do the STEM, but more importantly, what equipment and facilities do you build?
But Doc, whilst we're at this, I hope we're not losing sight on the teachers, because they are crucial aspects to this. How are we equipping them? How are we training them to ensure that they also match up to the standards?
You see, one of the things I tell people all the time, the Ghanaian teacher is very resourceful. Just provide him an opportunity. In the new STEM schools that we commissioned on a kind of a pilot basis last year, teachers were trained and they were up to it. I hate saying Bosomtwe girls all the time,
but it's fair to say.
But it's fair to say that you go there and you see how the teachers have been trained. So I believe that the Ghanaian teacher is so versatile. Provide him the opportunity, train him, motivate him, and that teacher will perform wonders. So we are not leaving our teachers. They are so critical, so essential. But we need to circle back and go to our colleges of education and begin to look at how do we change the teaching and learning environment there. Because we cannot expect the teacher to be the one who created a nurturing environment, become a facilitator of learning, and not the coach for rote memorization. If in the colleges of education, they are being taught to memorize. You can't give what you don't have. So teaching and learning at the colleges of education also have to change. At the universities where they are doing education, we cannot have a situation where the students are sitting in rows in the lecture halls and the teacher is dispensing knowledge as if they are empty vessels. And then these same teachers are going to come out and you expect them to do the magic of facilitation. We have to begin to look at how we run our colleges of education and begin to empower the teacher trainee so that when teacher trainee step in the classroom, he has confidence and the student can say, sir, can we do this differently? And say, yeah, you make sense.
So, Honorable Minister, yes, this is a nice idea, but how do we get students to study STEM in schools when it is finally introduced, as you were pointing out earlier?
I mean, once you provide equipment, you train the teachers, you are ready to go. And I think competitions that have been introduced in various schools is enabling these children to think critically. I went to an event at the International Conference Center, and junior high schools across the country were competing. And it's amazed you to know that a group of students came up with the idea of developing something like a sensor, which you can place in a kitchen, and it will be able to tell you if the gas is leaking. So you know how gas leakages causes fire, and a lot of people die as a result of that. These young men and women came together and said, we need to stop people from dying. And they say if the device is commercialized, it will cost about 400 cedis. And with that, you have it in your kitchen. If there's a gas leakage, it will alert you and say there's gas leakage, so that you don't go close to it with any item that can catch fire. So the bottom line is that we have to develop that kind of teaching and learning environment where the students become attuned to the idea of creating something, designing something, and not just memorizing facts that are given to them by teachers.
And where do you see us in the future when it comes to STEM?
In the future, it's going to be exciting to live in Ghana 10 years from now if we move on this trajectory. If we continue to move on this trajectory and begin to give opportunities for STEM education in the schools. And when I say STEM, also don't forget, but I'm not leaving out the arts. I want well-rounded Ghanaian students, in which case, if you are pursuing any pathway in STEM, you also will take a course in art, dance, music, become well-rounded, so that together we're actually implementing what you call STEAM, because the A will not be missing. So we are not developing robots, we are developing holistic human beings who are tuned to what goes on around them, who has appreciation for music, for drama, for literature, and consequently, they understand the world that they are growing up in, who can also take a course in history. And as we refine the curricula of Ghana, and the high school curriculum is being developed, the social studies component will have to be revamped to give students the opportunity, whether they are in STEM or not in STEM, to really study the history of their people, to know their place in their nation, and become active participants who find solutions to some of the intractable problems that our nation has confronted over the years.
We're grateful, Honorable Minister, that you've been able to spend some time with us here on the EduTalk Show. That's all we have for you in this episode of the EduTalk Show, brought to you by the Ministry of Education in partnership with the Teacher Education Journal. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.